thank you for joining with us live at the local San Jose City Mount High Stadium for today's NHL Week 4 for today of the San Jose City Trojans going against the Rabbits for today's NHL hockey game event, NHL on TNT of Legotopia community. For today, we want to thank you folks for joining with us for this sunset type game for the upcoming Easter holiday. We have the San Jose City Trojans going against the Swamp Rabbits for today's NHL event for this Week 4. So thank you for joining with us once again. We're glad to be back into the Mount High Stadium for another year in a row. With just last week, we did see the Trojans beat the Lions on that last week's game. So thank you for joining with us once again. We're glad to be back once again in the San Jose City Mount High Stadium live for today in the NHL Hockey Stadium. So please stay tuned for more. We'll be introducing the next following clip, the national anthem of Legotopia for today. And then we'll also be introducing the local beginning of the first period of the San Jose City Trojans versus the Rabbits for today's NHL hockey game event. And just stay tuned once again. I'm John Lees presenting today's NHL event. With just last week, we're glad to be back from the Trojans winning that Lions team. That final score, I believe, was 3-1 with that final goal point right at the end of the third period right there. So there will be 3 periods once again for today, so just stay tuned for those live at the San Jose City Mount High Stadium for another year in a row. The San Jose City Trojans, we're glad to be back in the San Jose City NHL Hockey Stadium. And just stay tuned. On the next following clip, we'll be introducing the local national anthem once again. Thank you for watching. And thank you for joining with us live at the San Jose City Mount High Stadium. Please rise for your local Legotopia national anthem for today's NHL hockey event of the San Jose City Trojans versus the Swamp Rabbits for today of this Week 4 of NHL hockey event. Thank you and stay tuned for more. Now moving on to today's NHL hockey event of the San Jose City Trojans versus the Swamp Rabbits, with the Trojans coming onto the ice rink for tonight's NHL hockey events, brought to you by the Vita Rush Way, local orange juice drink in the San Jose City Lake Otopia community area for today's event as well. So thank you for joining with us once again for the start of the first period, and so far scoreboard is 0-0, so no goal points on each side for the start of the first period. But we have the Swamp Rabbits coming back onto the ice rink for this week 4 against the San Jose City Trojans for today. And the Trojans are winning just last week against the Lions. And then we did see the Swamp Rabbits win against the Wolves, I believe, last week. So they're coming back from a big win as well. So both teams coming back from a big win. We're both having almost the same final score right there from that last week's game of week 3. But now moving on to week 4, we still got a couple more weeks left for the regular season of NHL hockey events for this year as well, going all the way into the month of May of 2024 this year. So just stay tuned for that as well. We have a couple brand new holidays coming up in the San Jose City community area. Coming up is the brand new Easter holiday event, which will be hosted live at the San Jose City farming area. So we'll check that out. Get your tickets now online for the sangoeventcenter.com for today's NHL hockey event. And for the next couple of weeks, we'll be seeing the San Jose City Trojans hosting live games here at the Mount High Stadium as well. We don't really have too many concerts coming up for this year. Lots of them will be going on at the Sango Event Center. So just stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up in the month of April of 2024 for this year as well for the San Jose City Trojans. So far, score 0-0. Stay tuned for more live with the San Jose City Trojans versus the Swamp Rabbits. To the end part of the first period of the San Jose City Trojans versus the Swamp Rabbits, and so far it looks like the Rabbits are winning this one with a goal point onto the scoreboard against the Trojans hockey team for today. And so far 1-0, 1 goal point for the Rabbits, dancing in the San Jose City Ice Arena right here for today's NHL hockey events live for another year in a row. Today's hockey event is still brought to you by the Olympics of 2024, which will be hosted live this year in 2024 Paris. So we'll check that out and get ready for those brand new Olympics coming up very soon. We also will be hosting a couple of brand new events this summer in the San Jose City downtown area, including local marathons, local racing events as well, for celebrating the Olympic season for this year's 2024. So thank you for joining with us once again for another hockey season for this year of the San Jose City Trojans versus the Swamp Rabbits for this week 4. Next week we'll be seeing the San Jose City Trojans coming back for another week in a row in week 5. After that, I'll be leaving at least 5 weeks of NHL hockey events. So just stay tuned for that. This will also be determining, the next 6 games will be determining if the Trojans can make it into the Stanley Cup playoffs and Stanley Cup championship for this year, which will be hosted live here at the San Jose City Mount High Stadium. If they make it, we'll see what happens overall. But right now, they are not close to making it. Right now, it's 1-0. With the Swamp Rabbits winning against them, with making a nice goal point at the end there, right at the beginning of the first period right there, in mid part of the first period, they were able to make it down to the ice rink and make a goal point against the Trojans right there, making it 1-0. So just stay tuned once again, Trojans at the Swamp Rabbits for this week 4 of 2024, and thank you for watching. Now moving on to the start of the second period for today's NHL hockey event of the San Jose City Trojans versus the Swamp Rabbits. And right now, still the same score that we saw in the first period, 1-0 for the Swamp Rabbits, are 1 point ahead against the San Jose City Trojans for today. But so far, local Trojans fans are anxious to see what happens at today's NHL hockey event. Today's event is also brought to you by Red Bull Gives You Wings for today, local energy drink introduced in the San Jose City Mount High Stadium for today, energizing all the hockey players in the San Luis Mount High Stadium for today's NHL hockey event. On this week 4, we have the Trojans going against the Swamp Rabbits, and with these Swamp Rabbits representing for the upcoming Easter holiday, they're glad to introduce their local Easter eggs in the San Luis Mount High Stadium for today, introduced at the San Luis MHS. Overall, just stay tuned for upcoming Easter events for this weekend. We'll be introducing Easter time next following weekend of 2024 this year on March 31st of 2024. We'll be introducing local favorites from the local Disney Adventure Park, Winnie the Pooh and Friends, and then also local favorites around the Easter holiday for this year as well, the local San Luis farming area. So just stay tuned for those coming up very, very soon. Live at the San Luis Mount High Stadium, please stay tuned for more. The score is 1-0, Rabbits are 1, and Trojans are 0. Thank you for dropping us for the end part of the second period so far. Please stay tuned for more. So far, it looks like the Trojans are tying this one right before the end of the second period overall. But moving on, so far it looks like 1-1. Goal point coming from the San Luis Trojans side, making a nice goal point at the end zone right there, or the goalie area for this year's NHL hockey events as well. But so far, tying this one right before the end of the second period. So they're going to be glad to come back onto the ice rink. After today's clip, we'll be introducing the local highlights of today's NHL hockey event presented by John Jr. for today's hockey event of NHL on TNT Plus for today in the San Luis Mount High Stadium. Trojans are glad to be back. They're looking forward to trying to introduce more defense against the Rabbits, the Swamp Rabbits, for today's NHL hockey event. And as well with their colors of yellow and bunny rabbit ears everywhere as well in the San Luis Mount High Stadium. The Rabbits are looking forward to trying to play their best against the Trojans as well for this mid-part of today's NHL hockey event game. Just once again, just stay tuned for more Trojans at the Swamp Rabbits for today on this NHL hockey week of week 4 for today. So just stay tuned. Live at the San Luis Mount High Stadium, live for this year. And score once again is 1-1 tie game for this NHL hockey event. And now moving on to today's highlights of the San Luis Trojans versus the Rabbits for today's NHL hockey event for today. So far looking absolutely awesome for this week 4 of the Trojans versus the Rabbits, or the Swamp Rabbits, for today, representing the Easter holiday, of course. But so far for the start of the first period and the second period, we do see the Rabbits winning against the San Luis Trojans at the beginning, making it 1-0 right there for today. And then moving on to the start of the second period, we did see the Trojans come back towards the end of the second period and make a nice goal point added to the scoreboard as well. But overall, looking absolutely awesome. I am John Jr. presenting today's NHL hockey event live in the front of the San Luis Mount High Stadium for another year in a row on this week 4. We'll be introducing week 5 coming up the next following week with the San Luis Trojans going against the Bears on that week 5 as well. So just stay tuned. We're glad to introduce those events as well. With the Easter holiday coming up, the local Swamp Rabbits are determined to try to win this one against the Trojans overall for today, but we'll see what happens overall for today's NHL hockey event. And so far, once again, score is a tie game, 1-1. Trojans are coming back from a big win last week against the Lions, so this week they're going against the Swamp Rabbits. With the Swamp Rabbits being a pretty good team right now, they're looking forward to trying to win against the Trojans as well. With a powerful carrot in their hand as well, they're looking forward to trying to introduce that puck into the goal on the Trojan side overall, and see what happens overall for today's National Hockey League event. But yeah, just determining what will happen. We'll see them coming back onto the ice rink here shortly in a little bit after today's clip. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm John Jr. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And now on to the start of your third period for today's NHL hockey game of the Trojans versus the Swamp Rabbits. Now moving on to the start of the third period for today's NHL hockey events for today, presented by the Olympics for this 2024 season once again. But so far it's still the same score point that we saw in the last period, at the end of the second period, making it a tie game for the San Jose City Trojans at the Swamp Rabbits, making it 1-1 for the start of the third period for today overall in the San Jose City Mount Ice Stadium. So thank you for joining with us once again. With the score being the same score that we did see, the Trojans are back onto the ice rink after a little short break right there, which was presented by the highlights of today's NHL hockey event. The Trojans hockey team, John Jr. was able to present the highlights of today's NHL game for today of the NHL hockey games for this 2024 season as well. So glad to introduce those for the San Jose City Trojans. Not too much going on for today for the start of the third period overall, but we'll be ending it on the next following clip, and we will be determining who wins today's hockey game against the Swamp Rabbits. And so far it could be either team because it's a tie game right now overall, so whoever makes the first goal points will likely win this NHL hockey game. With spring season coming up very soon, the San Jose City Mount Ice Stadium is smelling a lot like flowers for this year for the San Jose City springtime season. Local trees blooming in the area as well. We'll be seeing lots of brand new spring events coming up very soon. We'll be introducing some brand new spring type events, including brand new Blossoms Festival, Blossoms Music Festival, which will be hosted live, I believe, at the local San Jose City Event Center. So just stay tuned for that brand new spring event coming up very soon. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. We'll be introducing the final score in the next following clip for the San Jose City Trojans versus Swamp Rabbits. It looks like with that final score for today's Mount Ice Stadium hockey games of the NHL hockey games for this year as well, it looks like the Trojans are winning this one against the Swamp Rabbits with that final score being 2-1. Very close game for today, but we're saying goodbye to the Swamp Rabbits for today's NHL hockey event on this week 4, with that final score being 2-1 for the San Jose City Trojans. Local Trojans fans are glad to see the Trojans actually winning some more games for this year, so we'll see what happens in the next following 6 weeks. We have the San Jose City Trojans coming up next week again as well, so just stay tuned for that brand new hockey game event coming up to the Mount Ice Stadium for this year's hockey games. We want to thank you folks for joining with us for this year as well. We're always thanking you guys for these events and watching these local videos for this year on the Legotopia YouTube channel for this year. We're glad to introduce the San Jose City Trojans regular season of NHL hockey. With Swamp Rabbits losing this one, they're looking forward to coming up next week going against I believe they'll be going against the Turtles, I believe, next week. So stay tuned for that brand new event for the San Jose City, or for the Swamp Rabbits as well. We'll be seeing the San Jose City Trojans coming back next week on week 5. After that week, we'll have only 5 weeks of NHL hockey games, and then moving on to the Stanley Cup playoffs and championship game as well. For this year, for the 2024 National Hockey League season and the Legotopia community for this year. So once again, happy Easter to you folks out there. Please stay tuned for those brand new spring events and Easter events coming up next weekend. This next weekend we'll be introducing local San Jose City farms with their brand new events as well. So once again, just stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, and comment live on the local Legotopia YouTube channel, Trojans versus Swamp Rabbits.